One of the best things about Lego city building is storytelling with minifigures. I think it's time we add more minifigures to these streets because, yeah, there's quite a few. Like there's minifigures present, but I actually haven't gone around and added all the minifigures back to the Lego city. That's why you'll see so many open studs on the sidewalks, which are available for those epic stories like Captain America driving on the sidewalk. What are you doing there, buddy? But yeah, I've got all the minifigures sorted here, ready to go, and I'm excited about placing them here in the Lego city. So I've grouped them together by theme. For example, we've got all the pop culture related ones up top here. Superheroes, a little bit of Ghostbusters and Harry Potter as well. But I think a lot of those are actually already mixed into the city around that Avengers Tower and Pop Culture Street there. Then I've got all of the city related ones, just generic civilians. A lot of these came with the modular buildings or I've just acquired over the years. So just be able to place those randomly on the sidewalks all throughout. And then I also have a whole bunch of bicycles ready to go for the bike lanes. Now I only pulled the minifigures that are going to look good on the city streets, but I have a bunch more. For example, all of these ones here belong in the countryside or campground. And then all of these ones are just sort of random that can be used to supplement the beach or city or campground or whatever it may be. I want to try and add some more details to my city as well. I've got my street lights ready to go there, both new age and old school. The black ones are nice. They came from the Lego Extras poly bags. Then we have all of the street signs as well. And then over here, there are some pre-built traffic lights. Something else that I'd like to do is add more vegetation to the streets. I have these green strips integrated into the sidewalk and they're lacking any vegetation or detail. So for example, there's no benches, there's no bushes, no trees. All of those awesome details need to be added to the city. I also need to add these details to all the green spaces all throughout the city on either side of the train track there. I started doing it over here, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not a huge fan of this hill, so that's going to get ripped out, and I'm probably going to start building those with different shades of green, but specifically using wedge plates. I've got a bunch of pre-built trees just right over here, but most of these are actually going to get worked into the countryside, so I think I've got to build more for like the Lego City downtown core and residential area as well.
Here's an example of how I would treat these little green spots that I actually built right into the road sidewalk, so the green plate is actually below, but I've got to just add some tiles, lampposts, benches, bushes, all that type of stuff just to up the detail in the city. This is just like an example. Eventually I want to upgrade everything. I don't like using those pre-molded trees. I like using the countryside, but not in the downtown core, so eventually I'll be changing all that as well. But some of this stuff is a little bit difficult to put into the city, not because it's hard by no means, but because you're like stretching and reaching and you have to like extract a plate, add details to it, put the plate back, you knock over some things, knock over minifigures. You have to go like under the table, pop up through the access hole. So yeah, sometimes adding these details to the city is a little more challenging than it should be, but it's definitely worth it in the end. And this little snippet here just shows me zooming around for a short while, adding all those awesome deets.
I had to fix up two sections of road. One is an interesting curve that goes up against the pet shop there, which is actually elevated. And then the other is a 16 by 32 module, which will go right there in front of the university and the jazz club. Here's the 16 by 32, and it has a little section of bicycle lane. That bicycle lane is actually going to come to an end there because across the street from it is a raised section. So this is what the curve looks like. It's a pretty interesting one because we have a continuation of that raised section with the staircase, and that's going to clip in right there. So it feels good to get this section of road complete. It's been incomplete ever since I rearranged the city and got rid of that bridge idea, which was going to go over the canal right here. I also noticed that there's a missing half base plate right there between the university and the hospital. So I made this little Mills plate with a little bit of sidewalk just to fill that in for now. I'm not sure what's going to go between those two buildings, but I think I like the position of the hospital and the university. However, looks like I need to modify this road as well because That doesn't really make sense, does it? So I'll have to remove this small section of sidewalk and replace it with more road. There we go, that's much better. I also changed up the tile color so it matches the dark bluish gray. Normally it's light gray, so that's good. And now our ambulance isn't gonna have that bumpy ride. I don't think this guy here was looking forward to a bumpy ride. It looks like he already had one. Before we continue with today's LEGO City update, I wanted to show you all of these incredible LEGO minifigures that will be featured during my next Whatnot stream, which is going down this Saturday. That's October 26th, starting at 12 o'clock Mountain Time. I'm going to be auctioning off all of these figures starting at $1, sudden death style. That means there's no additional time that will be added to the clock as you're bidding. It is going to be insane. There are so many good figures here. It is wild. Did you see that Star Wars lineup? I've got one other big Star Wars one right over here. He's just taking care of all the Simpsons figures that I'll have available as well. In addition to all of these figures, I've got some sets that we'll be auctioning off, sudden death style as well. And I'm also going to be giving away a Lego set. If you win a giveaway, it's no strings attached. I cover the international shipping, and you do not need to make a purchase in order to enter in for your chance to win. If you're not on Whatnot, you can actually join using my affiliate link. And when you join using that link, you're going to get a $15 credit, which can be redeemed on your first purchase. That link is in the pinned comment and description below. In addition to auctioning off all those items, I also have a Buy It Now store, which is always loaded full of interesting LEGO items like sets, minifigures, merch, and much more. If you're looking to sell LEGO or any collectible at all, I would always recommend Whatnot. It's such a unique e-commerce platform where you can interact with a live audience while selling or buying your favorite collectibles. I hope to see you there on October 26th, starting at 12 o'clock Mountain Time. It's gonna be insane. Let's get back to the LEGO City building. Now I'm looking right over here where we've got our Central Park with the double botanical garden, which is of course the LEGO Friends one. There is a new botanical garden, which I actually have built, and I still don't know where to put that in the city. But across from that, we have the town hall. Now, Mrs. Bricksie and I were working on doubling up the town hall. We're turning it into a double corner. For now, it's a double corner with these little half baseplate modular buildings. We have the parts on order to double this up, but those parts aren't expected to arrive until the new year. So we're unable to continue working on that project until 2025. So for now, I think these two buildings look the best on either side of Town Hall because they're the right size, they're corner builds, it just makes sense. Eventually, we're gonna flip those around, put them on the backside, and build something custom for the center. But unfortunately, I'm not gonna take on that project here today. We may as well try and tidy this up a little bit. So I'm gonna place a half base plate there, another half base plate right there, and then I also made 2 additional mills plates just to fill in this area so we don't have to look at that wood until 2025 because that doesn't really look that good. I think that's just a great temporary fix. I think those pre-molded trees are all right, but I definitely need to build some custom ones. I do have the parts to do it. Eventually, all of those are going to be swapped up. I've got a bunch of these fern elements, and I want to build new saplings using the fern elements. I have 2 different colors, also the candlesticks, and I think those will look great on the city streets here. There's also some more green space over here, which actually has to be removed because where are people going to walk? So I've got to tile that up. Also, what's up with this awesome vintage taxi right here? Doesn't really make sense to have a parking spot right beside the assembly square. Where are people going to walk? How are the passengers going to get out? There's no sidewalk on the side of it. On the other side, I've got this little staircase. So what I'm gonna have to do is just transplant that with a different sidewalk on a road somewhere else. For the most part, all of these sidewalks, bicycle lanes, parking stalls, all that different stuff that you see on the side of the roads is all transferable. For example, this used to be right here. So all I have to do is just peel that off strategically. Ooh, sort of a mess of brickwork under there, hey? Not the best, but I can just peel that off and then I can do the same thing over here and try and peel this off if it wants to cooperate. Not always does it want to cooperate. sometimes it ends up being a pretty big mess, but it's still better than wasting it and parting it out. You may as well save the labor and transfer it. So then I can just take what I just taken off there and put it there and put this right here. And just like that, we fixed up the road plate there by assembly square, and we're giving another road plate a nice parking stall. And this is actually going to go right by the train station, because you want to park your car at the train station and park and ride. There we go. Now these streets are all fixed up and make sense. That is much better. And the train station has a parking stall. You know what I should do actually, is I should take this concept and make it grander. I should take parking stalls and I should make them all in here, but have it so cars can park like that. Then you can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then put just a big parking lot right here, right by the train station. I think that makes sense. I've got the space to do it, and it might be pretty cool. And if I were to do that, I could just tile off in front of the stalls, so the sidewalk connects to the train station sidewalk, and then eventually I need to fence off both sides of the track. We don't want kids wandering onto the train track. That wouldn't be good. Luckily, Batman with the extra head would be here to save them. You know what I truly need to do? Is sit down one day and have a vegetation day and just build vegetation like crazy, because upstairs I've got so many parts for building trees, and I really don't think I can classify this detailing the Lego City downtown core to be done. Well, I don't know if it'll ever be done because you can always improve it, but I can't really classify it to be done until I get all of the trees made and I put trees all throughout the city, because on those green spaces where I have the little pre-made bushes, I need to build bigger trees, but I don't want to rob them all from over there, and I think some of those ones over there are actually too big, but I have the elements to build the little fern sapling trees. I have more elements to build trees like this, also the 2x2 circular round ones, also the Technic ones. I've got so many pieces up there to build all of these trees, but I don't want to go build, like pull out all the parts to build 12. I need to dedicate a day where I can just sit there for 8 or 10 hours and just crank out 200 trees and get it all done. So then when I take on projects like this, I've got a nice stash of trees and vegetation and bushes and all this different stuff ready to go. Because to build 10 here and 10 there, it's not really efficient, but to sit there and build 300 of them, well, maybe not 300, but a lot of them all at once just makes a lot more sense to me. I wanted to start working on some mini builds for the boardwalk area, and I didn't want to just like stick trees into the light bluish gray tile. Looks like they're just growing out of the concrete. So I made these little planters. They use the double-sided modified bricks with the forward-facing stud, and then I put a 2x2 dark tan jumper on top. I don't have any in reddish brown, otherwise I would have used reddish brown because it looks like dirt. But then I put the 2x2 tiles on the side. It just makes like a nice little planter. And I just had enough parts to make 2, 4, 6, 7 of them. Hopefully I can make more in the future, because then it'll just be more cohesive with the entire city look. I also didn't want to use the light bluish gray benches that I was using in the little green spaces, just because they would blend right in with the sidewalk. So I decided to build these reddish brown ones. Eventually I'd like to actually change out all the benches so they look like this, because I think this is a better design. It uses the 1x2 brackets, some ingots on the side. On the bottom I put the 1x2 plates, and then on top there's a 1x4 tile and a 1x4 plate, so you can pose a minifigure sitting on the bench. I think those are nice. They're going to contrast well with the light bluish gray sidewalk, and they're going to match up nicely with these planters and trees, and they're also going to match up with the black lamppost that I use. So here we go. That's another time lapse of me zooming around, just adding some details to the city. I start by adding the street lamps to the sidewalk there to the left side of the train track, and then I also add some of those to the raised boardwalk area. I've got some more plans for that boardwalk area. I still need to connect it on the far side. I still need to add a bunch more details, such as like trees and benches and all that. It's just getting around to creating all those mini builds and making sure that I have enough parts to make it all consistent as well.
And then I start placing minifigures. It's pretty fun, you know, each minifigure that you grab, you try to put it in a walking position and you start to think like, where should this one be? Which minifigures do I need next? It's like each one is sort of placed strategically throughout the city. But this time lapse here just gives you a quick snippet of me zooming around. It gives you an idea of the ups and downs of adding all of these minifigures and details to the city. You saw me there hopping, skipping, jumping, going all over the Lego city, just sort of adding details sporadically. Like, oh, maybe it'd be cool to have a traffic light there because it's an uncontrolled intersection. And then we have a street light over here and some minifigures here and there and everywhere. And I really do it quite sporadically. For that reason, it is quite hard to capture on time lapse in specific areas because it's really just random. But I started adding some nice details to the raised boardwalk over here with those trees, benches, and lampposts and minifigures. And I started stretching and reaching to access this area, and I was like, oh man, this really isn't working. I'm knocking over things, unable to reach certain areas. It doesn't really work out all the time. Like, it's hard to access areas in the city, but I don't want to jeopardize what the city looks like just because it's hard to reach, and that's why everything is modular. For example, I've removed the lower section of the canal, which includes that really nice angle, and I'm actually going to work on it down here, and then I'll just place those modules back. I was getting ready to work on this area, and I thought to myself, it'd be nice to have some sort of cafe or coffee cart, because we've got this large triangular spot here, which would be a really good place to sit. Eventually, I want to build some sort of custom coffee cart, but then I caught this out of the corner of my eye. This is a nice GWP here, and it comes with some really nice sticker elements. You've got the barista there. It's just perfect. Eventually, I'll probably replace it with a custom build, but I'm going to use this for now, and it's probably going to be positioned right about there on the corner, or maybe like that. I haven't quite decided. Wherever it works best. I don't know. But either way, I decided that maybe included in this little story I need to create some custom tables and also chairs. So I created this little table here using some of the tan brackets and then some of these like connector pieces for the legs, and I topped them with dark tan so they match our planters. I didn't really have any of the 2x4 modified tiles with the 2 jumpers. That would be nice, but I didn't have any of those. So I decided to do a 2x2 tile in the center because I didn't have any more 2x2 jumpers, and then the 1x2 jumpers on either side so I can position food or drinks or flowers or whatever it may be on these tables. And the nice thing is there's a lot of jumpers around here, and I can reposition these jumpers however I'd like, and that's going to be what holds our tables in position. I also made a 4-person table, so you can see minifigures on all 4 sides. And then my seats, I was using various elements, but all of them came too high. You can't go too high because then the minifigures can't tuck underneath the table. So I used a dish and then a 2x2 circular plate, and the dish can lock into jumpers as well. And he will slide right underneath the table. So it is literally like the perfect height of chair. So I really like that. That's super satisfying in Lego. And then I also rounded up more parts so I could create more of those little mini planters because I want to flank this portion of the canal with trees and their planters, more lights, and minifigures. So I'm going to start working on that right away, but first I want to feature these traffic lights because if you didn't watch that vlog that I issued so many seasons ago, then you probably haven't seen these, but they're my own design and they're really neat. They're like rock solid. They're a Technic build. They've got the Technic axles running through them, and you can like wag them around. They don't fall apart. They've got the lights there controlling all 3 flows of traffic. And yeah, they got the light there too, the button for the crosswalk, also the street name. I haven't identified what my streets are going to be called, so those street signs are going to be completely random at this point. I do have to figure that out another day, but these can just chill like this. They've got the button for the crosswalk control. I will say though that my crosswalk is on the wrong side, so either I need to move that around. The bicycle lane makes that a little bit tricky, so I can't really have it over here unless it's offset to there,
I could move it over, and then what I could do is turn this and have that way. But I'm not really worried about that detail at this particular point. I just want to get them placed for now and then continue to work on details. This type of stuff just takes so long because it's all the little details. You can have unlimited amounts of little details like Scooter Kid falling over on the bridge, oh no. But you can have limited amounts of detail, and you can always tinker with it and always improve it. So it's not going to be finished today. It's just going to be a process that's going to be ongoing forever. Okay, I've loaded this place full of stories. We've got a street performer right here. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in this corner. I could have put another food vendor, but I thought a street performer was pretty cool. Looks like he's having a pretty good day. There's a $100 bill in there. Somebody's about to give him a $100 bill as well. We've got the evenly distributed benches, trees, lampposts, minifigs, and also the trash cans as well, trash and recycling. This lady here is going for a nice jog. They've got two gentlemen here just making their way around this lamppost. This guy's getting busted on the bench here. No sleeping on the local benches, sir. You got this old guy on this side who's feeding the local seagulls. Not advised, but he's doing it anyway. This guy's enjoying the water. Some nice trees over here. And then what I really like about these tables and chairs is that we can put them at those really nice angles just because they're only held in by those jumpers. So they're easy to manipulate. And then I've created just a bunch of little stories there, like they're having a hot dog or having some coffee and some orange juice, enjoying the view of the water, picking up a beverage. And I think it really works out. Just making sure that all the jumpers are in the right spot because everything here is tacked down. So making sure that everything is evenly distributed and make sure that the jumpers are where they need to be just involves a lot of brick separation. I've got to peel off all the tiles, make my way in there, place it, make sure it looks good, and then move on, and sort of did that for the entire thing. But I think being meticulous like this is, no, I don't think. This is how I want to be for the entire city, just making really cool stories everywhere, which takes time just because there's a lot of attention to detail, I guess. And you can always add more, which is pretty neat. And of course, leaving the most exciting part for last after adding all of these details, and that is adding these modules back into the Lego City. I really do like this view here. It is fantastic. There is still quite a few things that have to happen in this area, such as the little bridges that are going to go over the canal. And then I also want to create some small canal boats and much, much, much more. But it's all just part of the process. I think if you just do it layer by layer and just continue to add more to your city, it's pretty cool. Stories are a big part of that, and I think we were able to tell some pretty neat stories around the canal there. And then we've added a bunch of minifigures all throughout as well, just sort of randomly. Couldn't tell you exactly which ones have been added and which ones have not, just because I've actually been doing this over a couple-day period, actually 3 days, just when I get time. So yeah, it looks spectacular. I'm really excited about the layer that we were able to add today. Here's another view of that canal. I think that's great. I started placing some superheroes because I wanted to make a big superhero battle. And then I realized, I think I'm doing a little bit of rushing here. I'm sort of rushing to place them. But we still have lots of Ghostbusters around, and all sorts of superheroes as well. For example, I put the Hulk up there. There's Black Widow. Got Hawkeye. I put that Vision up top here. Repositioned Thor. So he's going over going toward the Leviathan. Put some Iron Mans out because this is a multiverse. But I didn't get a chance to go around and add all the streetlights. We just added the streetlights here. I need to do this street yet. And then I also need to go down this street as well. For the most part, they're done because I was able to add some more details to the vegetation right over there in front of those facades. But I wasn't able to get around the diner yet. That's like the bowling alley and diner combo, or arcade combo, sorry. But then the street looks pretty good. Got those evenly distributed lights and vegetation and stuff in the green spots, or the green areas. And I think it's coming along. It definitely feels pretty good to add some details to the city, and I can't wait to add more. That's really about it for today, though, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this little update. Glad that we were able to create some little miniature details and little mini mocks for this area and populate the city and add some trees and vegetation and lights and all those fun little details. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on by. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff coming out in the very near future. And most importantly, have yourselves a fantastic day. Bye for now.